Good afternoon, Keith Tebow from FRCMedia. Thank you for joining us today. As we head toward the end of 2020, we like to look back, look ahead, but also catch up with some people who we haven't spoken to. And this individual we haven't spoken to at all in 2020 because of COVID and the like. She's one of the three new city councilors for 2021, 2022. Actually, 2021 is the year. Michelle Dionne, Councilor Dionne, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I don't know if it's fair to say you are a new city councilor. It's been almost a year. Do you consider yourself a new city councilor or now a seasoned one?
Oh, definitely not seasoned. But I think your entire first term, you're a freshman councilor, no matter what.
So let me ask you, what's this first year been like for you? Again, COVID aside, I'll ask you some questions specifically about how you've been dealing with COVID as a city councilor. But COVID aside, is it what you expected? What were maybe some of the things you didn't expect that you've run into being a city councilor?
I really don't think I had too many preconceived notions. I sat in the city council chamber for a number of years, watching the meetings, watching how things took place, and kind of watching how government worked. But I will say there's definitely a big difference being on the inside versus the outside. You have more information. You're able to do more research. I think the thing that I struggle with the most is we all know that government moves slowly, but I didn't realize how slowly until now. But I think there's so many steps in a process. You try to you try to make change. You try to you come up. I think overall as a council we've done pretty well, and we've tried to be positive. We've tried to move forward, and I think we have succeeded. But we still have things that aren't completed yet, and I think it's just because there's always so many steps involved.
Yeah. Obviously you came in, as did Mayor Paul Coogan. So you're both in your first year in office. What's it been like working with the mayor? And obviously you've got nothing to compare it to because you hadn't worked with other mayors, but how's that relationship been with you?
I think basically overall the council and the council's relationship with the mayor has been good. We don't get stuck in we can have a difference of opinion and we don't have to fight or argue about it. Everybody is able to voice their opinion. Everybody is able to, make the votes they feel they need to make. And there's no animosity. We're all individual people who think independently, and that's how we move.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you mentioned about how slowly things move. I guess when someone's running for office like you did, you have a lot of great ideas. You want to try to push forward an agenda to get the city moving forward. And then there's that sort of, I guess it's sort of a checks and balances, right? The mayor may propose something, councils may propose something. You've got to find some information. I guess in some ways it's a way that we're ensuring that things get done right, maybe not necessarily done fast. Is that what you've learned as well?
Well, sometimes it's a case of correct. Let's get this correct. Let's get the process right. Let's make sure when we're done that we've dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's. So that is a component to it. But I'll give you an example. I submitted a resolution, I think maybe the third month, on a side yard program, which everybody's on board with. It looks like it's going to come to fruition. But there's just so many steps involved. You have to have your initial meetings. It has to go to the corporate council because we need an ordinance change. And as much as we don't want to talk about COVID, I think that has slowed the process down. I think, having Zoom meetings versus in-person meetings, it's not the same. However, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about that. You started the year in council chambers and then COVID hit and then you were remote for a while. And then you went back to council chambers for a good part of the summer into early fall. And then now, you're back on the Zoom meetings. Talk a little bit on how it's a little more difficult remote. Part of it is you can't physically talk to colleagues, let's say, prior to a meeting or after a meeting. So what's that been like?
Well, I think it's difficult for everybody, including the public. I think when you're face to face, things are more real. On the moment, you can address something. With the Zoom, everything, I don't know, I feel like everything is, obviously it is remote, but it feels like everything is fixed. You have to plan everything ahead of time. Nothing's really spontaneous. You can't say, wait a minute, maybe we need to stop this meeting for a second and address something and then come back to the meeting. It's almost surreal, actually.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I think if you're in person, Council President Ponte can call a recess. And then if there's an issue that needs to be discussed, it's sort of like sidebar conversations before the meeting gets up and running again. You really can't do that in Zoom, because there's no way, unless you create some breakout rooms, which you can do in Zoom, that you can really do any of that. So I can understand how that's an issue.
And in addition to that, as much as we get some citizens' input, it's so much less. And I think citizens' input is important. And I think you get a better flavor of what people's thoughts are and how people feel in the community if you have more people able to come in front of you and speak on different subjects. Somebody submits an email, it's read during the council meeting, but again, it just isn't the same.
Yeah, that may be different because someone may be really passionate about a subject. And if the clerk is just reading an email or a letter, it's not the same if someone may be passionate about a topic if they're before the full council. Let me ask you on a couple of issues that I've seen you've taken interest to this year. The issue of trash has been a problem, an issue, not necessarily a problem, but just an issue in Fall River for quite some time. I know you've done a lot of research on this. Talk about why you're so interested in the topic and what you hope will be, something that the city can maybe overcome. I know there's talk about, having some businesses who have had their trash picked up, no longer being picked up. So talk about that process in terms of trash and your interest in it.
Yeah, well, the problem is, as everybody knows, it's become so expensive to get rid of solid waste, to get rid of recyclables. And the recyclables are more expensive at this point than getting rid of solid waste. So that's presented a challenge for us. Unfortunately, because of the increase, the city, the budget just doesn't support the amount of money it costs to take care of our trash issues. And it gets worse every day. But it's not only for Fall River, it's all communities. So essentially, what I would like to, and that's why I keep talking about revenues and not turning my head to any form of revenue. We've talked about the billboards again. We've talked about maybe advertising on vehicles. It hasn't progressed yet. But, every time I drive by the Lewiston Street on the highway, I look over and I think to myself, imagine if we could have 4 billboards on that building at $50,000 a year revenue. That's $200,000. And even if we earmark that money for trash to reduce the cost of trash for the taxpayer, it's about trying to make everything more equitable. It's about fairness. Maybe in the end result, we don't need to take the businesses off. Maybe there's another avenue we can follow, but we need to get a handle on it. We need to be able to afford it, and we need to be able to do what's best for the city.
And I know it may be difficult in terms of being creative, right? A lot of times the council looks at the mayor's office to provide, some guidance and some proposals. But there are other times, I know you and other city councilors have come up with some proposals as well that you've, I'm sure, forwarded to the mayor's office. So how frustrating is it to have some ideas and then, maybe have it mulled over a little bit? Does that get back to also things going a little slowly than you'd like?
It does go more slowly than you'd like. Absolutely. And sometimes you find out when you're trying to affect change that you run into things that you hadn't anticipated. You gain more knowledge. Sometimes you can look at it's kind of like what they say about looking at the forest through the trees. From the outside, you see one picture, but when you start getting on the inside and you see all the different kinds of trees, you say, oh my God, this is far more complicated than we actually realized. So you have to take a different avenue, and you start looking at things a little bit differently. And again, you just try to make the best decisions that you can, and come up with an answer. We truly need an answer.
Yeah. Let me just ask you, moving forward now, what are your thoughts about some things maybe you'd like to accomplish in your second year of your first term as we head into 2021? I know a lot is going to be dictated by, financial issues and the budget. We know that the fiscal 21 budget is, approved and in the books, and things may look worse for fiscal year 22. But in terms of policy, what do you hope to maybe address in the next year?
Well, honestly, I'd really like to see us come to some closure on some of the present items that we have before us. We did get the police station sold, which has been a white elephant for many, many years. That's going to move forward. So that's a positive. That's something that's going to be put back on the tax rolls. Although, there's a little controversy about the Bank Street Armory. Hopefully that will move forward in a possible direction, positive direction rather. It's not realistic for the amount of work that building needs. For this, the city doesn't have the funds to put into that building what's necessary. You're talking millions of dollars, not $100,000. And hopefully, again, we'll have that as a new as something positive in the community that will, have some offerings to the community again. Obviously, the waterfront is going to start revitalizing. I think for me, I would like to see a completion to the many things that we've started. And then at that point, we can move on and start the new process for the next year.
Yeah, and hopefully COVID won't be a factor in that as 2021 progresses.
Well,
Let me
you're
ask you,
right.
yeah.
No, you're right. And as much as we don't like to talk about COVID, it has had such an impact. It's draining.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you final question, sort of to look back on 2020. And I've asked some people this over the past week or so as I've been speaking with them in terms of looking back at 2020. And obviously, COVID is the story of the year, no doubt about it, across the world, not only in Fall River, Massachusetts, or the United States. But what is maybe one other item that you've taken away from either the people of Fall River or even something that you've been involved with that has impacted you for 2020?
Well, I think, people talk about it from time to time, the resilience of the people in this city. One thing that the people in this city they don't give up. People in Fall River are fighters. And as bad as everything has been, unfortunately, we're going to lose some businesses, but you see them every day, pounding the pavement, striving to succeed, striving to stay afloat. I don't know. I think it's just the tenacity and the will to always make Fall River a better place, and to try to come up with ideas and try to come up with formulas that will enhance that and make life better for people in this city.
Yeah. Words we can all live by. Perseverance has definitely been one of the mantras of 2020. City Councilor Michelle Dionne, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me today, and happy holidays. And we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very
All right.
much. Have a good
All
day.
right.
Bye-bye.
And thank you for joining us today here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great day.